There you go, okay. Welcome to the Norwood Conservation Committee meeting for May 1st, 2019. If anybody has a recording device, please let us know. Open roll call.
Peter Bamber.
Joe DiMaria.
John Gear.
Lee Leach.
Oh, Cheryl Doyle.
Steve Washburn.
Al Getz.
Okay.
Lee, would you get me a drink of water?
There's no cups.
There's no cups.
No cups?
Oh, there they are. They're underneath the desk.
While you're there, are you buying? I'll have one.
How many? 2, 3.
First on the agenda is reorganization.
All the nominations.
Okay, actually nominate Cheryl for chair.
Is there a second?
Seeing none,
I'll second it if I'm allowed to.
I don't believe you are.
I don't know.
How about nominating, I'd nominate Steve Washburn for chair.
I'd second that.
Put it to a vote.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Those opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Okay. Next.
The only reason is because he's only been on the board for 5 months, and normally we wait a year. That's the only reason.
Well, we're here to support him. So next would be,
Well,
Doesn't he take over now?
yes,
oh,
he would
I
take
got
over
the
now.
agenda.
Swap seats and move on.
Do we need to move seats?
You have to.
Okay.
Different perspective.
And I missed.
Reorganization.
Okay.
And then you have to finish the reorganization.
So you need to ask for nominations for vice chair.
For Steve.
Well, things look a little different from this side of the table.
Right.
All right, so I guess next we need nominations for vice chairperson.
Again, I'll nominate Cheryl.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The next, typically, we would call for nominations for a treasurer, but with the reorganization, do we even require one anymore? Meaning in the department, that's what I was,
We'll require one.
oh, okay.
All right, nominations for treasurer.
I nominate Mr. Bamber.
I'll second.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You'll never get rid of that seat.
So, then, that's it, right? Okay, you can just move on to the rest of the agenda then.
All right, so first on the agenda, 7:30, notice of intent, continued from 4/17/2019. Conoco Engineers and Scientists Incorporated representing Andrew Shelby, Boston Gas Company, DEP file number 251-0505. Project location is 83 Morse Street.
Okay, I move that we accept the order of conditions as written.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll move that we close the hearing.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So, coming around.
I don't know that I've seen this before, the 7:31 meeting.
Well, I've
seen it
packing
in
them in
other
a little
committees.
tight.
I just thought that was great.
All right, 7:31 p.m.
It's beyond that time.
Running a little late, I guess. Notice of intent continued from 4/17/2019. Norwood Engineering representing Paul Easton, Vanderbilt Realty Ventures LLC. Project's location is 290 Vanderbilt Avenue.
I make a motion, we accept orders of conditions as written.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Hold on.
So you guys voted to accept the order for the last one, but you have to vote to approve the project at that point too.
Right.
Oh,
We
we
did.
closed it.
We
We have
closed it,
to
but we
reopen
didn't.
it.
You have to vote to approve it as well.
After we
Oh.
close it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
After you accept the order.
Let's
So
finish,
vote.
After
let's
the-
finish 3.
Yeah, so, no, finish 2
Two.
and
Two.
then finish 3.
Okay.
So we have to reopen 2 to,
No.
no, we
No, you
don't?
just vote to
Just
approve
vote.
it.
Okay, I vote that we approve the project for 83 Morse Street for the Boston Gas Company.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, then I have the motion to accept
The orders of.
the orders of condition for 290 Vanderbilt Ave. Joe had seconded.
All those
Yeah,
in favor?
sorry.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Aye.
Aye.
I make a motion, we accept the project for 290 Vanderbilt.
Well,
Nope, approve the
Approve it.
project. Accept,
I'll
approve.
second it.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I make a motion, we close the hearing. Right? We have to
Well, the
close it.
hearing was,
Was already closed.
Oh,
already
then
closed.
why we
Okay.
close the other one?
That one wasn't closed.
yeah, that
Oh,
one-
it
that
wasn't? Okay.
I just made that
It wasn't closed though.
up. No,
It wasn't.
It wasn't.
so
I know
we
that.
closed
Yeah.
on the
Yeah,
second one?
that's why I said I just made that up.
Go ahead.
All right, so that's all. That's it, right, for agenda
Yeah.
item 2 and 3?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Now we're gonna
agenda-
test your linguistic skills. Go ahead.
Line item number 4, signature of determination of applicability.
There.
Scott Sawyer, CarMax Auto Superstores.
You can say it.
Project location 205 Carnegie Road, Norwood, Mass.
Send her on action.
Okay, this is the first orders and conditions. Anywhere on this one, and then this one under your name.
Oh, I got carried away. Oh, it's okay. We know we're gonna say yay.
We
This is
sign
just
that
the
one.
sign,
Yeah.
That one's already, they're already.
Okay, keep reading there.
where we're signing.
5.
On to number 5,
Yeah.
sign determination of applicability, JMK Development LLC, project location 449 DePonson Street, Norwood, Mass.
So we'll sign that.
4 and 5 is just one place.
Yep, just one.
God, there's a pen to go with that.
Number 6. We're gonna break a record here, come on.
Going for the gusto.
We can sign another, yes. Mention this, I think. Someone's signing it.
I know, this one's for you alone for me. Thanks, guys.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Number 6, Dave.
All right, number 6, spring projects.
have 2. Oh, no, it's a list of, gee, is there one extra one?
Yeah, you
No.
can have my extra.
Okay.
You can have that one.
Looks like first of the spring projects is the orchard at Endine Field.
Yes, okay, so we met the other day, Sue, right?
Sue,
Sit
yes.
with Sue, Mark Ryan, Ramonda and I, and we laid out where the orchard's gonna be, and you can see there's a list of the different types of trees. There's also on the end what we have, the total cost, so we're gonna have to vote for the money for the trees. Mark said he'll have the guy, right? Yeah. Mark's gonna have the guys dig the holes. They'll put the trees in, they'll put our cage in and the watering thing, and they'll give us a spigot. Sue so graciously said she'll help us keep them watered. And Ramonda and I will go out and we're gonna stake it. We got a walking runner, so we can stake them all out. And we have them on the other side of the power. There's some like electrical lines. We have them, if you're facing the community gardens here, there's path here, there's electrical wires here. We're going to the left of the electrical wires in the big open field.
Reminder?
I'd just like to give a little bit of background to it. So approximately just over a year and a half ago, maybe almost 2 years ago, Cheryl and I had broached the commission with the subject of having apple trees at the ending field. I know there had been some talk about putting a dog park there, which didn't go forward. And it basically is an unused property that the commission has control over and owns, that we want to see maybe better utilized instead of just having it mowed. So we do pay right now to have it mowed twice a year, and it's very expensive to have it done. So we were thinking of having an apple orchard, and when we brought up the subject to the commission, you guys were not opposed to it. So Cheryl and I had slowly, over this time, been looking into different options, things that we could do with it, plants that we could get. And probably about 2 months ago, we saw Sue Claire come in. She knew Mark, Ryan, and Al, and we had also been thinking about putting an apple orchard there with the support of the town manager, Tony Mizuko, who was very eager to see something like that go into the property. So once we kind of got together, we had looked at their initial idea, which included putting the trees around the community garden, which we had allowed to be on the property, which is off to the left side of the property. And it's been very great. Sue is here, she can attest that they have 72 gardeners now that utilize the community garden. However, having the trees placed around it, we had talked about it at a recent meeting. It probably wouldn't be the best, because people may become confused about, what is able to be picked and what is actually part of the community garden. And we all came together and said, well, let's just go with the original plan that Cheryl and I had of moving over to the right-hand side, which we placed beyond the power lines. There is a water main there, and as Cheryl said, Mark Ryan so graciously is going to put in a water spigot for us. But we are proposing to start the orchard with approximately 45 trees. The map that we have right there shows how the trees will be spaced. They will be in the standard orchard format, which will create avenues, which will allow people to walk through. They could obviously stop, picnic there if they want, and when the apples come into season and are able to be picked, which is early fall, people will be able to pick them. There will be no charge. There is no charge to use the property. There's no charge to take the apples. We want it to be for the community as a whole to be able to utilize the property and to enjoy the conservation area that is there. Right now, we do have one bench out. We always can add more benches. I believe we have 2 that are in storage at DPW that need to go. They were going to be at the Nickel Street property, but if we want to move them to this to allow more seating, we can. DPW, Mark Ryan has again graciously offered to do more than the lion's share of the labor, which includes taking delivery of the product, installing them, which is digging the holes. He also has to deal with invasive species as far as this poison ivy. What is the other plant that's out there?
Black swallowwort.
Black swallowwort.
Yeah.
He will be turning over the soil, installing the trees, putting down some wood chips for us to deal with the weeding. He will put in the stakes to hold the trees up. We will be installing, which will be Cheryl and I, the fencing to go around the trees to help maybe with deers, because deer do like to eat the trees, to try to get
And
them.
They
like-
love apples.
And they like to go,
So
they rub.
collectively, we have come together, and Sue has graciously offered to ask the community garden members if they would be willing to take on basically a weekly shift to water the trees for us.
Not just the community garden.
Yeah,
though,
but
Ramona,
other-
But I have some Eagle Scouts interested as well.
Oh, perfect.
Oh,
So,
yeah. I think this can be more than the community garden. I think this can be real community.
Excellent.
Pull together some different groups, yeah.
and Susan has also said there are several Master Gardeners for the Master Garden Association that are members of the community garden who are very eager to see this go in as well. They are willing to reach out to the other Master Gardeners to assist with pruning, bring in other students from Master Gardeners so they can learn how to prune and care for these apple trees. So we were hoping to get support of the commission and also the funding of the commission to purchase the trees. There will be a mix of apple and some stone fruit and maybe pear. The vast majority will be apple, and you know, we were hoping just to start small with 45 trees. I know it doesn't seem like it's small, but they are all dwarf apple trees, which reach a height of maybe 10 feet. They branch out to about 8 to 10 feet, which are perfect size for small hands to reach up and grab, for families to go and grab them. The maintenance will be cut down because the pruning will not require much special equipment. It won't require ladders or anything where people can fall off or become injured. So we were hoping to make it very easy and accessible for the vast majority.
It's well thought out.
So we will still have avenues between the rows of trees that will have to be maintained. We had contacted the person, Bob Malloy, who does the mowing for us, and he says as long as he has an avenue about 10 feet wide, he will be able to get his equipment in to thoroughly mow. And again, we will have wood chips down to cut down on weeding. And basically, after the first several years, which are about 2 or 3 years, there'll be very, very little maintenance that will be required. So you can see from the handout, we have showing how the trees will be planted in avenues. And the list behind it are some of the trees we were hoping to order from Stock Brothers. A lot of them are disease resistant. We want it to be an organic orchard. We don't want to use pesticides. We want to be able to have the trees be self-sufficient with very low maintenance, very low water. We don't anticipate much watering beyond the first and second year. So we will need water bags to be purchased in order to make sure the trees take off. And if it goes well in the first couple of years, maybe we'll expand, maybe we'll put other types of fruiting bushes as far as like blueberries or things like that on the other side of the field so that people can venture out and see what's beyond just the beginning besides the community garden and the orchard.
That sounds great.
I have one question. There used to be a dirt road that went across approximately in this area that the ball field used to supply something out of, whether it was something for their refreshment stand or what. Are they still using that, or is that not being used?
There is a road that runs down, if you look at the handout,
Yeah.
there is a walking path right here, which is always maintained. And if you go there now, even when it's not mowed, people constantly walk down it so they can use it to get to the ball fields, which are right here. So that path is always there. There's another path that's actually right here between the trees. We're actually going to space them out a little bit more to allow that path to be bigger. So it'll probably be about another 10 feet. It'll be opened up a little bit here because the water main is approximately right here. So in order to get the water main and make sure there's enough area so people aren't kind of like bumping into it, we're going to just push these a little bit further out so the spacing in between will be a little bit further. But other than that, it'll look exactly like this.
And we're going to probably have 20 feet between the trees because of their
The reach.
canopies. We want to make sure they don't crowd in, and it'll allow for better growth of them.
Well,
And Bob will be happy mowing that way too.
I'd be happy to make a motion to support this.
Okay.
And, yes.
Well, we not only want your support, we need
And pay for it.
Yeah.
He had raised his hand before I could finish speaking, so I stopped.
Well, I just wanted to make a comment.
Well, go
Oh.
ahead.
And my comment would be, I'm very much in favor of this, but just a couple comments and then on the procedure. I know we should probably allow Susan, if she needs any more comment, to talk to this as well, Sue or our other guests there. But
That's Vic Babel.
You're the other guest.
yes, I know, Vic.
I know you know Vic Babel.
I
You
got
were-
it right.
Just my
Boy, it was
my couple
annoying.
comments. I would strongly recommend that you choose the resistant varieties and not so much the non-resistance because of our
Yeah.
climate.
There's,
And then to go along with that, I think your plan is very well thought out in terms of having a variety of different, ripe apples that don't always ripen at the same time. I know that apples also need the different varieties to pollinate,
They do.
so that's
Male and
important too.
females.
No, I mean cross varieties.
Yeah, but you
where
do male and female
Some
trees,
other
too.
fruit trees do not, like such as peaches, don't need different varieties to pollinate. And then the aspect of pruning is very important, and I know Susan was part of the Evening Garden Club that recently had a guest speaker that spoke about pruning apples in particular, which was very, very informative. So I would encourage that knowledge to be brought into our local prune, whoever's going to do that work.
I will be the one to bring that knowledge because I am highly ignorant of fruit trees. I am learning as fast as I can since first even talking about the subject.
All right.
And it goes exponentially every time I read something more about it or talk to another
So it was
expert.
the speaker was
We
very
have to get
interesting. yeah,
someone
yeah.
who will train us in how to
Right.
prune them, and I think Ramonda knows how we can do that. We were talking about it. I think she knows how we can get somebody to teach us what to do so that we don't kill these baby trees.
We don't want that.
To let
So-
you know too, when you use dwarf trees, they don't require the pruning as the bigger trees require much more pruning.
But the
Because,
first year they do require. quite a
yeah,
bit of
because
it.
on Vanderbilt Ave, we have,
Shape them.
we have dwarf apple trees.
Mhm.
We don't prune them at all. And the deer are just
Happy.
so grateful and happy because they produce the sweetest apples that there are. And people, when they're out walking on Vanderbilt and Carnegie, they go by and they just pick apples. They're there, you pick them, and we've never ever pruned them. We just go and keep on going.
If I'm to, I think that it's important to also be prepared to provide public education while we do this. I mean, it will accomplish a lot of things. First of all, those trees are going to help direct water into the soil where it belongs, instead of it's running into South Norwood and flooding everyone's basements. I mean, it still will, but not as badly. They're useful in that respect, in terms of hazardous weather. The other thing is that appropriate signage out there can provide a lot of public education. Walking out there and seeing a tree and learning the name of it, and I noticed that you provided the history of some of these trees. This is fascinating, and people will learn. And signs near the entrance that explain how a fruit orchard, how do these trees work together? What are pollinator trees? Why do we need them?
Yeah, I think,
there
That's
needs
a
to
great
be an
idea.
allotment in the budget
Yeah.
for proper signage that will help with that.
Yeah, well, Ramonda and I have it on, like, not yet, but down the road to do it, because we also have to have on a sign, because people that walk their dogs, that there are, like, the dogs are good, it's the owners, and we have to make sure that the dogs aren't going by and watering the trees for us. So we're gonna have stuff like that. And then Mark Ryan was graciously, again, going to install our doggy stations, and he's also gonna give us a barrel out there. to
Excellent.
go with it, so that people walking the dogs will pick the stuff up and put it in the barrels, so we don't have little caca messes through the trees where little children will step in it. So, but that is on our list.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
I think is just one of the
Yeah.
best things about it.
Sometimes we have to go baby steps.
True.
Go ahead, Ramonda.
Well, just to respond to Lee's comments, we are trying to select trees that have some type of disease resistance. There are only a couple. There's one that actually is a Massachusetts native. It's a Roxbury apple tree, and it's native to Massachusetts. It was, I guess, first brought up in the 1800s.
It's one of the earliest ones.
Yeah.
I saw that on PBS.
Yeah, so we were hoping to bring back some native species of apples that you can't get in the local supermarket that would be, an educational, experience for people coming in, not just children, people who are adults who just don't know what was available in Massachusetts because it's not available in your local supermarket. So we were hoping to bring those trees in as well. Again, we're looking to be an organic orchard. So obviously, even if you buy trees that are disease resistant, doesn't mean they won't succumb to a disease. So we do have to know that even if you put in 45 plants, you might have 35 that survive. I mean, there's no guarantee you'll have all 45 survive.
We have to
But
hope for a good winter, is
We
what
have
we
to,
have to.
and apple trees do require a chill period. So people who go, oh no, you're gonna put these in and they're gonna freeze and die. Apple trees require a chilling period where they need to be cold in order to produce fruit the next year. It has to happen, it's part of their life cycle, so we can't be afraid of that, but we do have to know going in, even if we put in 45 plants, they may not all survive, so we may be coming back next year and saying, we not only want to expand, but we need to replace X amount of trees that have died, and then go from there again. So it will be an ongoing project. I think it would be great for the town to have something like this. We don't have anything like this in Norwood right now, and I don't know of anything in the surrounding communities that offers this type of come and pick your own for no cost.
Yeah, that's great.
And to let the board know, on our signage, we're also gonna state that we don't want anybody going in there and like picking a whole bunch of apples and then turning around and like selling them.
Right.
And that, we want it for the experience of families being able to take their children on a Saturday and Sunday and go apple picking. When I lived in New Hampshire, I was in the apple orchards every weekend with my son. And that's what we did, because that's what you do up there. You go to the orchards all the time. So it'd be great to pass this on to the children in this town. But we will have it posted, because there's going to be that one person
Oh, yeah.
that's going to go.
You might want to post it in a few places.
Well, yeah, we'll have
Yes.
it.
Quite a few.
Yeah, we'll have it
Around, actually.
posted.
We won't be supplying bushel baskets, so.
Yeah, but no,
You bring your bag from Stop and Shop, please fill it up, but
You
just fill up the
can
one
just put up
bag.
a sign that says, "Take one."
Well, we've
right.
been giving it a lot of thought, and like Ramonda says, it's been like a year and a half in the making that we've been working on this.
I think
and
it's just a great idea. It's
like I said, we'll do blueberry bushes. I don't know if you guys have ever raked blueberries.
A winery.
Yeah.
I think it's a great educational thing for the schools to come in
Yeah.
and do that.
Could
And,
you identify yourself, please?
The other person is so named.
He's the
Victor
other guy.
Bagel.
Thank you.
And the fact that the garden's right next to it, so during the growing season of the apples and all that and the ripe time, the garden's pretty full with people always there doing their
that's an
crop. So if we
excellent
see
point.
someone with a bushel basket like Mr. Bamber there, we can at least tell them to stop.
Yeah, and we'll make sure that that it's noted as part of the rules for the orchard is that your garden is not
part of the orchard.
Yeah, not part of the orchard. You can't go in and grab all the cucumbers and take them home, or the tomatoes. That
Thank you.
you actually have to be part
Of the
of
garden.
that garden.
Well, Vic promises to hit me with a garden implement if I take more than one apple.
And you know, if we see that the apples are getting overripe on the trees, what we do is, you know, every Saturday, the food pantry picks up from the garden.
Oh, that's
No, we
great.
take it-
We take it there, and,
Yeah.
you know, so if we see that they're just rotting on the vine, as they say, we'd certainly, you know, give it to the food pantry.
That's a
So
great
No,
idea.
that's an
Mr. Guy
excellent-
over there,
Yes.
could sort them on a Saturday.
Oh, we'll just have them come and pick them all. Sorry.
Could I ask the $2,000 request, that's to cover the cost of the trees and tree guards, fencing, and posts, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that doesn't cover, like, the signage that's been mentioned or anything
No,
like
that's why I
that?
said, baby steps, we're gonna start with it, because you gotta remember, these are bare root trees,
Mhm,
and they're only like 4, maybe 5 feet high,
sure.
so they're not at maturity yet. So, once they go into ground, it's not like you're going apple picking the first
No.
season.
Fair,
No.
It'll be
okay.
a-
Yeah.
Mark will have
And
put
that's
up the
why I
dog
said,
signs, that's the most
hope
critical.
for a
Right.
really snowy, cold winter, because that'll get them going for the springtime. Because it'll allow their little root system to do their thing underground. And then, if we have a winter like we had this year, we are gonna lose trees.
Sure.
Right.
Well, I love the idea.
Just a question for clarification. Do we need 2 votes on this? One to approve and one to fund it? Okay.
Thank you.
That was a yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lee
Make a
wanted to
motion
make a
to-
motion.
Well,
Make a
I'll-
mo-
Go ahead.
You-
All right, make a motion that we establish a apple orchard at ND.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I move that we fund $2,000 for the apple orchard.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Okay, so now we're doing our butterfly garden. We need $100. What it is, to let you know, the garden's actually, it's doing good. We have to get out there and do some, just minimal stuff to it. But we also need to add, in order to stay qualified as a way station, we have to go and throw some more like annuals and stuff in like that, because you have to stay by their rules and regulations. You have to keep having variety added to that garden.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to add.
Move that we add $150 to the budget for plants, additional plants for the rain garden.
Butterfly.
Garden.
Yeah,
Sorry.
we don't have a rain garden yet. That's a big project, though.
I'll second
that.
It would.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, line item number 7, treasurer's report.
Nothing to report right now. Everything, town meeting begins the 13th, and we'll find out how our budget holds up at that time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Great presentation.
Wonderful presentation.
All right, line item number 8, conservation agent's report. Al, what do you have for us?
Okay, first of all, let's go back a couple of weeks. It's the 19th of April. That was Good Friday, and I was gonna go on vacation. But before I did that, I made a couple of site visits. And the important one is I went to Keswick Park, and I looked at the pond, which wasn't much of a pond at this point because it's partly silted up, and looked like some of the, something happened to the dam during the winter, and the level of water in there is more like a brook now. Okay, so while I'm standing there looking at this and pondering what that was about, I kept hearing leaf blowers. So I got curious and I followed the pathway that we have, which does need some work. And since it's been raining so much, there were places that are pretty muddy and need some attention to cross wet spots like we have at the ending. And I kept going and the noise kept getting louder. And I get about halfway down to the end and there's three guys with those backpack leaf blowers cleaning up a backyard. And what they were doing is they were blowing all the winter debris, and then they're putting it in a barrel and bringing the barrel over and dumping it on the banks of the brook.
Oh,
So these guys didn't speak English, and I had a hard time, but I got them to stop. And then I told them to call their boss. Well, after a while, a guy came, and he didn't act like the boss. He didn't want to acknowledge that he was the boss. But I told him I'd give him a week to get this stuff that they had just dumped on the banks of the brook out of there, and that the rest of it they were to load in their truck and take it away. Okay, so then I went and knocked on the door and rang the doorbell, and being a religious holiday for some people, he was at home. And I told him who I was and what I was concerned about. And he started to give me a little argument that he didn't tell them to dump it there. So at any rate, the outcome is the guy that showed up must have been the boss directed them to clean it up and take it away. So next week I will go and check and see if everything is gone that they dumped that day. And I've asked Ramonda to generate a letter to send to the homeowner and to the landscape company that they were not to dump their cleanup materials on town-owned land along the side of the brook. So that's where that one's at, and next week I will stop by and check and see what this final outcome was.
May I interrupt you for a minute now?
Sure.
I went by Peswick Pond this afternoon, and there was a survey team taking readings of heights and areas and angles, evidently from the plans to
Remove the dam.
remove the dam.
Yeah, yeah. So that, I knew that's going forward, and the Watershed Association has some money to do that planning stage, and then they will, when they have information, then they will come to us with a filing to do the project. But I was surprised at how little water there was, and you must have noticed the same thing, the amount of sandbar and everything there today.
Well, I wonder, I know Ellis Pond is down, and maybe, did anybody lower it down because of flooding, because of all the rain perhaps? Is there a way to do that on that dam?
At Ellis Pond?
No, but at this.
Oh, no,
The
it's,
Mill Pond
there's-
Dam, it's,
there's nothing there.
I'm actually surprised it's down because all the, the meadow that runs behind like, is it Norwood Gardens and that, and all the way to the Neponset, that's still like under 4 feet of water.
Well, that's
And
what I
the
mean.
pond on Vanderbilt, which is behind like the Comcast building, it's been cresting the banks left
Yeah,
and right.
okay, but
There's
but
so
it has
much
to-
water.
Has to start in Foxborough and come across through Walpole and then down behind what used to be Building 19 and
Yeah.
and then it goes under Summer Street and into the pond, what was a pond, and you know, it's going downhill all the way, so all that's much higher than,
Yeah.
Well,
the meadows.
Can there be a tree down then blocking the
No,
water
no,
somewhere?
Basically, what I would suspect is that there's some damage to the existing pond, dam.
Dam, yeah.
Right.
You know,
It
it's
has to
not,
be, otherwise
it's
it
been
doesn't
in
make
bad
sense.
shape, nobody's maintained it.
Yeah, but, okay, answer me this, guys. If there's damage to the dam and part of the dam is gone,
Yeah,
and the purpose of taking the dam out is to have water there so the fish can hang out, well, if it's already dried, isn't it gonna dry more? I thought the dam always held the water to the pond.
yeah,
Yeah,
but
they-
we're gonna get rid of the dam entirely, so there'll just be a stream. That's
We haven't
the
voted to
project.
that. We
I haven't
have,
seen a plan or anything.
Yeah, well, but,
But
okay,
that's their
but,
intent, yes.
do you know what I'm
That's-
saying? If you take the dam out
Mhm.
and it's already damaged and there's no water there because the dam is damaged,
Part of the dam removal through the DEP, they established what the creek bed was originally, so they have to do cores to find that out. Then when they find it out, that has to come out. Everything has to
Okay.
get excavated down to that level.
okay, I'm fine with that, but if they don't do that, then I have a concern
Well, we
that,
have to wait for a
that,
plan. If we
yeah,
don't like
that
the
bed
plan,
will
we don't
dry
like the
out
plan.
completely.
Right, we have to get a plan.
And I know all the streams and everything are just supporting so much wildlife because it's just amazing down by Vanderbilt, what is down there right now.
Sure is.
Oh, there are birds down there I've never seen before. In close to 30 years, all of a sudden, they're like, hey,
Do you have anything else for us, Al?
Okay.
I'm sorry I interrupted.
To-
but they-
today-
That was part of that.
Today I went to the BJ's gas station project. Yesterday in the afternoon, Paul Halkiotis and Mark Ryan went there and met with the people that are doing the landscaping and finishing up. And I went this morning, and what I found was a little disturbing to me. They weren't following the plan as we approved. The slope towards what used to be the Building 19 and the storage warehouse and such was not being done according to the plan. What they had is they had a flat space about 10, 12 feet wide at the top of the slope, and the plan calls for the slope to start at the guardrail. So they had like a roadway on the other side of the guardrail that their machine was running back and forth, and I told them, no, that's not what the plan shows, and they had to, so those guys that were doing that, they spoke English and communicated very nicely with them, and they said, well, I have to call my supervisor. So I waited about 15 minutes, and the supervisor came, and he understood what I was saying, that had to follow the plan, and that when this project was done, I expected to see the as-built plan very similar to the plan that we approved. And I said that if it was decided by their engineers that they should do something other than what was approved in the plan, that they had a process where they bring us a proposal for a change of plan before the commission. And he understood that. However, I expect that they will remove that roadway as I describe it at the top of the slope and make the slope the way it's supposed to be, which will make it a manageable slope, and finish it up according to the plan. He said, well, I'll have to call some trucks in because we got a lot of extra material here that we'll have to take away. And that, as I thought about that as I was going on my way, that that's probably what was driving. They didn't want to bother carting away all this material because that's an expense, you know.
They carted it in.
Well, no, it was there, you know, when they.
Oh, but they flattened it out.
So at any rate, I think that when I've made an appointment to meet with them on Tuesday morning, I will go there, and I expect that I'll see it more like the plan we approved. It has to meet the specs in the plan in order to handle the flow of stormwater and snow melt and everything off the site, and make it so that somebody can maintain the property. So at any rate, that's the two issues that I have dealt with at this point in time.
Thank you, Al.
Welcome.
Number 9, automation of Ellis Pond Dam.
I met with Mr. Ryan and gave him all of the information that we had, including cost estimates for automating the dam. My understanding was that they wanted to automate the dam as a precaution in case the dam at Willett Pond should breach. This way, if there was a indication that was going to breach or a danger, they could lower the our pond water to a level that would help to some extent. It would be then remote controlled from the wherever the central area would be by phone lines, and it would be automated so that you didn't cause flooding and you were able to regulate the flow from dead emergency, which is open up everything, to a slow drawdown at that point. My understanding is that Public Works has shelved that project in favor of a much more expensive project. The cost estimate for doing that, except for the bringing in of power, is about $20,000 to $25,000. We, thanks to Peter, purchased 3 units to automate the dam, with 1 spare. Those units would have cost $7,000 each, and our total expenditure, I think, was $150 for all 4 of them. So it's quite a bit of money that is tied up. It's now those units are now in the basement of the Sportsman's Club, which I think is probably a better place than sending them down to the Public Works Department, where they're liable to get lost or damaged. So we may want to think about automating the dam as a Conservation Commission project, because I think it's really important. I would hate to see a problem develop that would make it difficult for the residents along there with flooding, should that other dam need to be opened to lower the level of
You'd be able to
Willett
hear me
Pond.
yelling as I'm swept to South Norwood.
Steve, I just want to speak to that for a second. Al can verify this too. The Neponset Valley Watershed has recently had engineering survey done on the Willett Pond Dam. And part of their engineering was to show what would happen if the dam fails. And we asked about, in a forum, we asked about that very thing, about automating the dam and controlling them together so that, and the answer we got was, it doesn't matter, because if Willett Pond Dam fails, According to this particular engineering study, which they gave us a printout, it's gonna wipe out everything in its path. Ellis Dam is gonna be nothing to it. It's gonna take it right out, and it's gonna take out
It's over 100 acres of water.
the train trestle down to South Norwood that runs behind Endine, and it's gonna flood all of South Norwood.
Thank God I'm up on a hill.
So, I mean, it was, if you saw the study they did, it was.
I have a copy of it, yeah.
Well, the
Pretty-
automation
pretty
still has a
scary.
value of raising
Oh.
Yeah.
the dam
Yeah.
water levels.
Yeah, it's also, if you have the ability to raise and lower that, you can do vegetation management by lowering it down until it freeze, and then once it froze, raise the level so that it uproots the plants.
Well, there's been times, Al, you've gone by and checked on the level and recommended they drop it in the past.
Yeah, however, I don't know where they're at right now, but I think it's as high as the pond is as high as it normally gets.
Oh, I'm not complaining about it, I'm just saying you've had to because of storms and
Yeah,
other things.
okay. Well, what we do, there's a plan generated by the engineering firm that engineered the dam for us, Phase Spofford and Thorndike. And they provided a operation plan that calls for a summer level and a winter level. And at the present time, the Public Works guys have that on their plate, and they follow that. If there's a large storm forecast, a hurricane or something, and it looks like it's coming here, that's also in the plan to let water out ahead of time, a little at a time, so that we get more storage capacity. And they have done that a couple of times for large storms that were forecast. And one of the things that I do is I stop by there quite often, and when we have high water times and big storms, we haven't had an incident where the water was even approaching the overflow area. So at the present time, I think it's significantly below the overflow area, and no damage, even though that last week, while I was on vacation, my rain gauge showed 4.5 inches for a week. That's pretty good amount of rainfall for a week time. And we're going some more, so I don't know what, this season, we have more rain. This season, let's say from the end of the drought in the summer up to now than we've had in history. We've got more rainfall, and every once in a while, some of these good guys on the weather report on the TV, some of the better ones that have more experience, keep track of that, and they tell us how much they have found it and what the record is, and we're way over the record at this point. So we're controlling it, and if I see something, I get in touch with Mark Ryan right away, or Gary, and they send Joe up there who has the crank, and they deal with it. So I think that Joe's proposal is good in that if we started to see an inflow from a failure upstream, the control structure that Joe is talking about would sense that the level of the pond is rising. And it would automatically, through that sensor, lower the pond some to stabilize the level in the pond. And then as the influence from upstream ceases, then it would come back up again. So it's a good thing if we can do it. And I don't know what the present day funding of it would be, but it's it would take the manual control away and put it in the hands of a computer program. And as computers go, sometimes they're working good, sometimes they're not. But if it's working, it would be far better than having to send somebody up there in the middle of the night or on a holiday weekend when these kind of things seem to happen the most.
So what do the obvious question, I'm sure, is what options do we have in regards to pursuit of funding for a project like that?
Town meeting.
Yeah.
We'd have to,
Yeah.
we'd have to get a reliable proposal of up-to-date numbers, and we'd have to put it in our budget proposal for next year.
And
Budgets
that's why
have
we have a
already-
treasurer.
Budgets have already been established for the next town meeting, but a year from now,
There's perhaps, that there would be a special in the fall potentially, that you could do it there too.
Yeah, I'm not sure that between now and the fall,
But a year from now, perhaps.
well, yeah, a year from now is probably more reasonable in terms of getting solid numbers for exactly what you need for electricity. The numbers I have are almost 2.5 years old for the electronic portions of it.
and nowadays, everything's being controlled by satellite. So when you first had proposals that didn't include that, nowadays we can generate the facts through a satellite to control it.
I'm sure the remote portion was wireless at that point.
So what would it take to prepare to bring that to town meeting, the next feasible opportunity?
I guess it would take a vote of the commission to reinstitute the project and get it started.
It just seems that this has come up a few times, and there seems to be an incredible value in the investment that's been made, for the opportunity that was capitalized on to procure the mechanisms used to automate the dam in the first place. I don't know what the shelf life is on equipment like that, but it seems to me that it would be a shame to just leave it be until at some point it, wasn't functioning properly or what have you.
These units were actually never used. Their twin units have been in service for over 20 years. So seeing a piece of equipment that's in service for 20 years and not giving you a problem, you can pretty much assume that they're pretty rugged and stable and do what they're supposed to do. The only question mark is the programming and how to get the sensors that give you the height and however you're going to set the heights up and what kind of program that you want that says, I want to maintain it at such and such a level, and how you override that.
So you need an engineering study then?
Not so much an
For the-
engineering study, you just need to decide exactly what you want, and then you give that to the people that are going to design the control mechanism, and they will design that in. Because basically, it'll be a smart design system, and it'll have just a number of inputs. This is normal input. This is, you can do it by time of year, or you can do it by rainfall. But basically what it does is you've got a sensor that tells you how deep the pond is. That's the first thing you do. And then you tell it what what you want to maintain. And then you also tell it that you wish to lower it to a certain point, but you do not wish to lower it so fast as you drain the pond or flood somebody downstream. So the mechanism will do all of that, but the planning of how to do it is something different. That's, you know, the engineers will give you the hardware to do it. Deciding how you want to do it is something else. You know, what
Well,
levels.
why don't we continue to look into that and start talking about that again, and then based upon that, determine if it's feasible to activate as a project again? Because it sounds like that's the key to everything right there.
Yeah, how do you want to run the dam is the question.
Right.
What do you want to do with the dam? We can do anything you want to do. You just need to know what you want to do.
Right.
It would seem at the least that automating what is currently a manual task would be of some benefit.
Right, I think it's
Oh, yeah.
117 in the summer, something 113 elevation in the winter type of thing. And it might not be the depth of the water, but the level on the dam.
That's exactly it, yeah.
Right,
Level of the dam.
So you would just do
Mhm.
it that way, so I
Mhm.
mean, but, so it sounds simplistic, and it may be, but we just need to look into it and
Yeah.
find out.
And what you need to do is you need to determine what the maximum flow rate you want to have the dam empty at. I mean, if it's high and you want it to go down 1.5 feet, you don't want it to go down 1.5 feet in a minute. You know, you want it to go down 1.5 feet over a couple of hours. So you have to determine what your maximum flow rate you'd like to see.
That makes sense.
Yeah, you don't want to flood the people downstairs,
Right.
downstream at the
Right.
Commerce Center.
Right.
Okay.
So then what would the next steps be is it someone at the town that we would need to communicate with in regards to like the intended automation, or?
I don't think so. I think I'll try and come up with some sort of plan. We'll talk about it here. And I think once
If we
come
went
up with
to an
something-
automated system, would we have to involve DEP or Army Corps in
No.
anything? Okay.
No,
good.
because basically all it's doing, it's automating the valve closing system that exists currently. So we're not making a change, we're just doing it automatically.
And there would still be a manual,
There's still a manual override. You
Right,
still push the
yeah.
button and it goes up and down
Yeah.
if that's what you want. But the trick is that you need a sensor that will sense the level. And that's one of the more expensive portions of it.
Okay, so you'd be willing to take some time before our next meeting
Sure.
to?
Well, I'm not sure I can do it before the next meeting because I gave all the stuff away and I don't think I can get it back.
you can just recommend it to be on the agenda then when you're ready.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay, yeah, it just seems to me that there's a wonderful opportunity that's presented itself, and I would hate to just like leave those units lying to the wayside there until they either disappear or just fall into disrepair. It sounds like they're reliable when operating, but so is my car. You leave that for a couple of years parked, however, and not so much. So that sounds great. Do we have any other comments or thoughts on that before moving on? No? All right. Line item number 10, proposal of future agenda items. Anyone have anything? No?
No.
All right, CPC representatives report.
Nothing, we haven't met.
Fair.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Good night, everyone.